Hi there, this seems to work, this way of recording. I thought I'll talk about my Oceanic Biomass 1 project. It's a concept that I think is doable and that actually could fix the climate problem. Why? Well, because it uses the surface of the ocean, which is much larger than the surface of the land. It will not have any water shortage because the ocean is of course filled with water. It will not have any fertilizer nutrient shortage because the ocean has also fertilizing all kinds of nutrients in the deep water. And it doesn't need money because it grows. It's not something that you build with fossil fuels, but it's something that grows organically. So I'll talk a little bit about it. The idea is basically to grow an island like you see on the picture, but much larger than this, much more resilient and strong. You can see that the bamboo is floating on the water, and there's even a little house built on the bamboo. Well, make that bamboo layer about 3 meters thick or something, and make sure that you tie everything together well, and you can build whole like say aircraft carrier sized bamboo islands. And the nice thing about those type of islands, which you can, by the way, let's say combine with mangrove, which will grow in between the bamboo and maybe tie it together organically by itself. But the nice thing of those islands is that they of course are a fertile ground to grow new bamboo on. So you don't have to grow it on the land, the bamboo, you can grow it on these islands. And if you take that combination of an island that is made of bamboo that is used to grow bamboo, you'll see that you'll have a formula that basically has one limit, which is the supply of nutrients to the island. And that problem can be solved by pumping up deep ocean water, because at about 200 meters a girl working in Hawaii determined that if you pump up water from about 200 meters deep, it will have nutrients to grow seaweed. It will not have too much carbon dioxide. You're not basically releasing the deep ocean carbon dioxide which is stored in the cold water, but you're still getting out a lot of nutrients. And you can grow seaweed with those nutrients. You can use the seaweed when you put them on the land or on this island to grow the bamboo, and you're done. Basically you have a biological process that is not limited, but still captures enormous amounts of carbon dioxide. And the idea is to do this, to start in Fiji or one of these Pacific islands, and start growing an island the size of, well, say a few football fields, and basically design it so that you have land for growing the bamboo to expand the island, that you have seaweed farms, that you have something to grow fish in, that you might even have other crops growing on the island, because there's really no reason, once you have a freshwater top layer, there's really no reason to grow not anything else. So mangrove, even trees, and of course that wood can also be used to incorporate in the floating part of the island. And the only thing really needed to, well, there's a lot needed to make this work. A lot of people have to do this. It has to be, so first of all, of course, this is something that requires, well, a couple of €1,000 at least to do a demo, to do a test. But a very important aspect of it is that it will be extra economical. Extra economical is any business that operates out of the economy. It has to be extra economical. It cannot use bank loans, because banks form a system together. They cooperate together with the fossil fuel companies to form the carbon credit system. And you don't want that involved, because that will limit and that will control whatever process you're trying to do, especially when it blows a hole into our scarcity. And this concept does that. It basically allows you to grow infinite amount of food, way more than we need today, eventually at basically, well, of course you will have a cost, but the people that will live on these islands to work and do the process will be able to feed themselves. So what will be the cost? How will they be rewarded? They get fresh air, clean environment, abundant food, sunshine, tropical lifestyle. So well, what else would they need? It gets extremely complicated once you try to match this process with any economical system, because the economical system is really a closed system that controls the money supply so that the oil prices don't rise too much. And you don't really want that system, because you don't really want to exploit this either, because the goal is to capture carbon dioxide as much as needed to get back to 270 ppm. And you just do that. How? Well, extra economically, meaning there's nothing that you are offering for sale per se as a part of making the system work. There's no involvement of investment banking. There's no involvement of anybody that has an interest in exploiting your activity. It is out of the bounds of that type of activity. That's the, let's say, as a Dutch journalist called it today, proto-fascist system that is destroying the earth, and this is simply meant to create more biomass to capture carbon dioxide. So I guess the way to go about this process is to well, think it through, design units, but most of all to start somewhere on a tropical coast, for instance Fiji or one of these Pacific islands, and start growing bamboo there. These type of plants can grow really fast. So you're talking about 30 feet or something like that, or a lot in a few months, in a few weeks' time. They'll be very long. So that's why I'm thinking primarily of bamboo and not mangrove. I believe mangrove doesn't have the speed of growth, even though there's a guy in Mexico that already grown his own plastic bottle island, which is now also supporting mangrove growth. That works for him because he's in shallow water near the coast, and coastal waters have all the nutrients because they are pushed up from the deep ocean. In the middle of the Pacific you won't have the nutrients, you have to pump them up yourself. So you get units, basically this type of island will consist of units for growing the bamboo, of units for pumping up the water, of units to grow seaweed. There's lots of parts. And well, so this is first video, or not really the first video, but a first video about this concept, and I'll be working on this. I really want to see it happen. Why? Because, well, it's really the oceans are with the heat and the rising temperatures, they are enormous volume of gas that will be released, because if you heat up water it holds less gas, and there's lots of nitrogen and carbon dioxide and all kinds of other gases in the water that we really want to keep in there. So we have to keep the oceans about the temperatures that they are right now, and we don't want them to heat up as they are. And then, of course, eventually, when the oceans have heated up, they also will stratify, which means that they will form layers with a hot layer on top with no nutrients and a dense colder layer at the bottom with more nutrients, or all the nutrients that simply, let's say, drop down through the water. And such a situation means that there's really nothing to eat for anybody that wants to live, or anything that wants to live on the surface. The way the oceans in a climate change event change is that they stratify, so this is what I'm talking about. They form layers, the top zone is dead. There's nothing there to eat or to use in any kind of metabolic process by any organism. And so it will take, first of all, that process will take a long time, and during that process you will get lots of poisonous gases like H2S, as hydrogen sulfide, from the oceans and in the atmosphere that will kill basically everything, as it did in the Permian extinction. But then it will take the coastal regions, which have kind of some, let's say, due to the wind, they will turn over the water from the deep ocean onto the surface and bring some nutrients to the top. In those zones you will have a possibility of life, first of all, remaining, but it will be toxic for a long time, and then some oxygen will be formed due to well, simply the contact with the air with some oxygen in it. That will cause some rusting. Some iron will come into the water again, because most iron will be removed in the process of heating the ocean and degassing it and it becoming toxic. And that iron is necessary to make the oxygen, to make more oxygen, and that will be a very slow process. It will take about a million years or something like that, at least hundreds of thousands of years. And the speed at which we are heating the ocean right now, and in which we are triggering this process of deterioration and let's say reversal towards the pre-oxygen atmosphere state. It sounds a little bit strange, but it's really true. The Earth spent a lot of time, billions of years, with an atmosphere filled with methane and hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide and no oxygen. And it really took these coastal regions, these zones where the nutrients are from the deep, get to the surface, and let's say dissolved minerals from the coastal regions to create an environment in which oxygen generating bacteria and algae could form, and they slowly started poisoning the atmosphere for all the animals that lived with the H2S. There are still animals that can deal with the H2S type environment, poisonous environment, but we can't. We will die very quickly. So, long story short, this approach allows you to expand this effect of making oxygen, of making biomass in the middle of the ocean through these islands, and it is well, a process that can be of such a size, if you calculate the size that it can achieve, that it can really change things for climate change. It can really reverse the whole process. But we have to move fast, because of course this poisoning of our atmosphere by methane and the other gases that I'm talking about is a slow process, but it's let's say right now the ocean is basically absorbing heat and accumulating it and not losing it. So it is warming up, and that process is maybe a slow process, but you know, it has to be slowed down, reversed as soon as possible. This project can do that. So maybe you want to support me, maybe you think it's cool, maybe you have some ideas about it. It's the Ocean Biomass Island 1 project, the OB1. So when you talk about it, nobody will suspect that you're thinking about something that's very practical, real, and maybe even important. That's a good way to keep it extra economical. Nobody will be interested in it. They'll think you're some kind of airhead, maybe. But this is a solution. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, or if you want to help me do this, try this somewhere. It can be done anywhere where you have a Pacific coast and warm weather and the ability to grow bamboo to start with. Of course, once you do that, that will motivate a lot of people to be interested in it and believe in it. Then let me know. Thanks for listening.